Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name is Dylan. Dorothy and I had been together for almost 2 years. Things were steady, comfortable, easy in a way that made me think about forever. She was 26, smart, warm when she wanted to be, and she made me feel like I mattered. I'm 30, a project engineer, not the type to do grand romantic gestures, but I had been saving for a ring. I'd even scouted a restaurant downtown, the kind with string lights, city skyline, and a soft jazz trio. I planned to propose to her this Thursday. The plan was simple: dinner, laughter, then a question I'd been rehearsing in my head for weeks. That Thursday, I came early from work and decided to stop by her apartment. She had left her dress in my car from the weekend, so I stopped by to drop it off before our dinner that evening. I wanted to surprise her with flowers and maybe talk a bit before we headed out. When I walked up to the door, I heard her voice. She was laughing, that high, easy laugh she only used with friends. "He's going to propose tonight," she said. I froze. Watch me say no and make him cry. At first, I thought I misheard, but then her friend Nadia's voice came through the speaker teasing, "Dorothy, stop! You wouldn't actually do that." "Why not?" she replied. "He's sweet, but come on, he needs to be knocked down a peg. He thinks everything's perfect. I might as well wake him up." I felt my throat tighten. She kept talking, casual, like it was just gossip. "And after dinner, I'll meet Caleb at the club. He's way more fun anyway." Caleb, her gym trainer. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stood there, listening to her plan my humiliation like it was entertainment. When she laughed again, I turned and left quietly. I walked to my car and sat there for a long time. That was the moment I decided. If she wanted a show, I'd let her have one. Just not the one she expected. Dorothy texted me after an hour. "Dinner's still on tonight, right? 7 p.m.? Can't wait." I stared at the message for a full minute before replying. Wouldn't miss it. That evening, I drove to Dorothy's place to pick her up for dinner. I was a little early. Her car was outside. When I reached her apartment, the door was half open. I figured she was getting ready, so I called her name as I stepped inside. The shower was running. I set the flowers I bought on the counter. That's when her tablet lit up with a notification. I shouldn't have looked, but the name on the screen stopped me cold. Caleb. The message read, "So, tonight's the big night? You ready for his little speech?" Then Dorothy's reply, "Oh, I'm ready. Gonna let him down gently. Or maybe not so gentle." Caleb responded, "Save me a dance after, beautiful." I just stared at the screen. The room felt smaller, tighter. I scrolled up. Weeks of messages, full of flirting and late-night jokes about me, mentions of training sessions that ran long, private coffee dates, and inside comments that made my stomach twist. Then I saw it. One line. "Can't wait to see his face when I say no." I took screenshots, sent them to my email, and put the tablet exactly where I found it. The shower stopped. A moment later, she came out wrapped in a towel, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. "Hey," she said brightly, "you're early." "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Didn't want to keep you waiting." She laughed, walked over, and kissed my cheek. "You're too sweet sometimes." I smiled back, careful not to let anything show. Inside, everything was shifting. That night, I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. She wanted a public moment. She wanted a scene. So I decided to give her one. But the ending wouldn't belong to her. I knew who she really was now. All that was left was to show her that truth has a stage of its own. The restaurant glowed like a postcard when we arrived. I parked a block away, took a slow breath, and reminded myself not to rush. The plan was simple: steady voice, no drama, no shouting. Dorothy looked incredible in a pale blue dress that caught the light every time she moved. She smiled like nothing had ever been wrong. We took our table near the railing, the skyline behind her. She talked nonstop, about work, about her new gym schedule, about Nadia's recent promotion. Every word sounded polished, like she was practicing lines. I nodded, listened, played along. Half an hour later, I spotted Nadia at the bar with two other friends. She tried to act surprised when she saw us, but I could tell she'd known Dorothy would be here. Across the deck, I saw Caleb, tall, confident, in a shirt that looked one size too tight. He gave Dorothy a short nod. She blushed, then hid it behind a sip of wine. "So," she said, "this place is romantic. Maybe too much." "Maybe," I said evenly. "It's got a nice view, though." She laughed softly. "Perfect place for a story, right? The kind people talk about later." "Exactly," I said. "One to remember." Dorothy's fingers brushed mine. Her eyes glinted, waiting for the moment she thought would make her famous among friends. Around us, soft music filled the air. The mood was perfect, painfully so. At 8:10, I stood up. "Give me a second," I said, pretending to reach for my jacket. Across the deck, the manager, Zara, caught my glance, the same signal we'd agreed on earlier when I asked her to dim the lights for my special announcement. She nodded subtly, and the rooftop lighting softened just enough for people to turn and look our way. Dorothy's breath quickened. Phones came out. Caleb folded his arms, smirking. I looked at her and thought how strange it was that I'd once imagined this would be the happiest moment of my life. Then I smiled, calm and clear. "Dorothy," I said, "there's something I need to say." Dorothy's eyes lit up the second I said her name. She straightened in her chair, already rehearsing her expression for the cameras. Her hands folded neatly on the table. The perfect picture of a woman waiting to be adored. I reached into my jacket pocket. She bit her lip, pretending to be shy. "Oh my God, Dylan," she whispered. But instead of a ring box, I pulled out my phone. My heart beat once, steady. "I was going to ask you something tonight," I began, my voice calm but loud enough to carry. "But before I do, I need to tell you what I overheard and saw on your tablet." Dorothy blinked, her smile freezing mid-expression. "What are you talking about?" I unlocked my screen, tapped once, and held the phone where everyone could see. "You said," I read, "can't wait to see his face when I say no." The place went silent. Nadia's hand went to her mouth. Caleb's grin disappeared. Dorothy took a small step back. "Dylan, that's taken out of context," she stammered. I met her eyes, unflinching. "Really?" "Because there's more," I swiped once. Caleb texted, "Save me a dance after, beautiful." And then you replied, "You'll get more than that if he cries." A quiet murmur spread through the tables. Someone whispered, "Wow." Dorothy's voice broke. "Stop this. Please." "Why stop now?" I asked evenly. "This is the part you were waiting for. Everyone watching, right?" Her hands trembled. "Can we talk in private?" "No," I said softly. "You didn't plan private." Caleb shifted, glancing toward the exit. Nadia looked away. I lowered the phone and said, "I didn't come here to propose, Dorothy. I came to say goodbye, in front of everyone you wanted to impress." I slid my phone back into my pocket and walked toward the exit. I didn't look back as I left the restaurant. Behind me, voices mixed, whispers, a few gasps, the sound of Dorothy's heels scraping against the floor. My phone buzzed before I even reached the parking lot. "Please come back. I didn't mean it like that. We can fix this." I turned the screen face down and kept walking. I didn't drink, didn't celebrate, didn't cry. I just sat in my apartment with the silence filling everything in between. It wasn't relief I felt. It was clarity. By morning, her texts had tripled. I made a mistake. It was just a joke. I was nervous, that's all. None of them said what mattered, that she'd chosen pride over love. Around noon, Nadia called. Her voice shook. "Dylan, I'm so sorry." I told her it was a terrible idea. I never thought she'd actually go through with it. "She planned it," I said quietly. "You both know that." "I know. Everyone saw it. People filmed the whole thing." "Yeah," I said. "I figured." By the end of the weekend, that video was circulating through our mutual friends. Not viral, but enough. Dorothy's coworkers saw it. Her gym friends saw it. Caleb stopped answering her calls. On Monday, Dorothy showed up outside my office. She looked exhausted, her eyes red. "Dylan, please, let me explain." "There's nothing left to explain," I said. "I was stupid, okay? It was supposed to be funny." "Public humiliation isn't funny, Dorothy." She started to cry. "Everyone hates me now. Caleb won't even talk to me. I lost clients because people think I'm toxic." I didn't gloat. I didn't feel victory. I just looked at her and said, "You wanted a reaction. You got one." She whispered, "You destroyed me." "No," I said softly. "You did that yourself." Then I turned and walked back inside. For the first time in months, my steps felt sure. The week after the incident felt strangely quiet. My phone barely rang anymore, except for friends checking in. Dorothy stopped calling after Tuesday, though I saw her name flash once in an email I didn't open. The noise around the story started fading. People moved on, as they always do. But for her, the silence was heavier. Through a mutual friend, I heard she'd taken a leave from her marketing firm. Apparently, a client complained after seeing the video online. Caleb quit a few days later. Dorothy, from what I was told, stopped showing up anywhere familiar. I didn't feel joy hearing it, just a kind of cold acceptance. Every action has weight, and hers finally landed. One evening, about 2 weeks later, she showed up at my building. I spotted her through the glass doors before she saw me. She looked different, tired, pale. I almost didn't recognize her. When I stepped outside, she flinched like she hadn't expected me to actually come down. "Dylan," she said softly, "I just want to talk." I nodded once. "Okay, go ahead." She took a shaky breath. "I lost everything. My job, my friends, even my place. I can't afford the rent right now. I don't know who I am anymore." Her voice cracked, but I stayed quiet. "I didn't think it would go that far," she continued. "I was showing off, trying to look like I had control, but I didn't. I hurt someone who was good to me." I finally met her eyes. "You wanted a lesson to teach me," I said evenly. "Turns out, you gave yourself one." She nodded, tears streaking her cheeks. "Do you hate me?" "No," I said. "Hate takes energy. I'm just done giving you any." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, "You were the best thing that ever happened to me." I didn't answer. Some things don't need replies. I walked back inside and didn't look back. 2 months later, I'd gotten used to the calm. Work picked up, weekends filled with runs by the river, and dinners with friends who didn't ask for the whole story anymore. Life had moved on, and so had I. One afternoon, just as I was leaving the office, an email notification slid across my phone. The sender's name stopped me. Dorothy M. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." For a second, I considered deleting it unopened, but curiosity won. Inside was a single paragraph. No excuses, no begging. She wrote that she'd been in therapy, that she'd learned what it meant to lose respect, that she didn't want forgiveness, only to say she understood now why I'd handled things the way I did. "You didn't humiliate me," she ended. "You just showed me what I'd become." I read it twice, then deleted it. There wasn't anger in me anymore, only a dull sort of peace. A week later, I walked past that same restaurant. Couples laughed under the lights. For a second, I could almost see the version of myself from months before, nervous, hopeful, about to hand his heart to someone who had already decided to drop it. I didn't stop walking. Dorothy's name still floated through conversation sometimes. Someone said she looked healthier, quieter. I hoped it was true. Not out of love, but because closure shouldn't end in destruction. As for me, I didn't start dating right away. I didn't swear off love either. I just learned something vital, that trust isn't given to those who ask for it. It's earned by those who protect it. Dorothy had wanted to make a scene, a big, unforgettable moment. In the end, she got exactly that. She built the stage. I just let her stand on it alone. And as I left that restaurant for good, the only thought that stayed with me was simple. Sometimes the calmest revenge is truth, spoken once, in the same place someone planned your downfall. Thank you for watching.